innovation that will lead to changes, especially in the oil and gas sector that has the highest amount of investment.
Mr. Thangod, we get you quite clearly. We'll just allow my colleague here, Mr. Ayo, come in. I was almost going to say that there's a colleague of mine who just said, you know what, tell them we need light. I don't know how we're going to communicate this.
And that's all we want to hear.
We need light.
We need more than that.
Who is going to make
but there was a
special provision for vandals?
There's a question,
who vandalize this infrastructure?
Well, maybe that is part of the conversation now.
Somebody's vandalizing this infrastructure.
Let's begin to look forward to the year 2025. I mean, the basis of review is to do better going forward. And one of the things that we think we can all record, as has been scored, is that states now have the opportunity to produce and distribute their own electricity and maintain their own infrastructure and regulate their own sector.
And get revenue from it.
So that's the question now, Mr. Pratt. So the law permits, I don't know if all 36 states can do it.
Yes.
Professor Naji, I asked him one of the days we interviewed him, I mean, having done, geometric electricity in Abia State, I asked him, how long does it take to come up with a power station for generating electricity? He said it shouldn't take more than 3 years and maybe $20 million or something like that. Now, being that short a time and that finite, quote unquote, quantum of resources, what are the states, what are the potholes, the minefields that the states, any state that wants to get into it, needs to be aware of and avoid, so that they can avoid the problems that Olu has forecasted earlier?
Thank you, Ayo. So let's start from the beginning. When you have a problem, you iterate. So it starts by saying that I have 4 problems. I've solved 2. In solving 4, the 2 that are solved, 1 has an issue. So it means that I have to rework it. Now let's use Lagos State. And I keep on saying, in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Lagos is that one-eyed man. Probity is a different conversation. But in terms of resources and passing a bill, she's gone steps ahead of everybody. So what are the legal, or let me say, what are the potholes she's likely to face? There's a fix, or shall I say, there's a cross between being capitalist and being socialist. That is the Nigerian conundrum. We're 200 million people, but we don't have 200 million people that are, and I don't want to use gainfully employed, I want to use the word productive. Some by choice, some by chance. So you find out when you go into the political landscape in Nigeria, you become able to do so much more. But at the same time, they wear what you call a political hat. I think that is the first issue they need to step away from. Competence is what is needed. So it means that if you have the best mind,
regulatory
so that's where, and we're going in stages. If you set up these regulatory companies, competence from the legal framework, what is doable, what is right to do, and what is wrong to do. Then commercial viability. If Lagos says, for instance, let's just use an abstract example, she needs 2,000 megawatts of electricity. How much of it is commercially viable? Because there are areas that can't afford to pay, but you need to give light. So the question is that if she looks at that, then it's a mix of industry, residential, and let's say those who cannot pay. So you're trying to find a tariff model where you sell most of what you can to the places that are commercially viable, the industries. So they stop using generators. If they don't need to buy diesel and they have an IPP, an independent power project that is running them, they're paying their kilowatt hours. But they don't need to take out money to buy diesel or go and build a renewable solar energy plant. They don't need to do that. So Lagos must find what is viable. Give it to the best hands. And it's not a political game. Every time you take money as an investment, it is going to chase, capital will always chase returns. That's a standard. So the first thing is the legal frameworks have to be correct. The second thing is that there needs to be commercial viability. And what is most important, in my opinion, is that there must not be a case of where I give it to Mr. Ayo because we're from the same party. If INI is the most
So
competent.
It goes back to competence that you're talking about.
Competence. If INE is the most competent, then that is what it is. She's going to be able to generate what we need.
Even if she's not even from Lagos State.
It doesn't matter where she's from.
Okay.
If we say we're
already talking
Causing that separation is where I think the big deal is.
Okay.
Because who is going to be answerable to who? The state government will set up the same thing that is at the federal level, isn't it?
Yes.
And run it. And you're already suggesting a cross subsidy?
Well, not a cross subsidy. Because what I'm saying is this, Olu. If we need 2,000 megawatts, we're going to price it in such a way that the return on investment covers the 2,000. But what we're saying is that the man who runs an industry pays a higher percentage, not a cross subsidy, because he's running an industrial area. Look at it for power. If everybody is at home at night, then you can charge a higher tariff at night than in the daytime when there's nobody. So not a cross subsidy, but a cross tariff system that